Hey friends, welcome back to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. Today I want to talk with you about A2 milk and how my family and I have found it to be really beneficial. This is for people who, at least in our case, we did not have a true dairy allergy. We just had some sensitivities to dairy, and I just want to share with you how it has been a great replacement for us and why that has been the case. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast. This podcast is for moms who are parenting differently abled children. Maybe you desire to switch to a more natural lifestyle to improve your family's health, but you have no idea where to start. You're longing for more routines and time, but every time you try to implement those tips that you've spent hours researching, you realize that they don't work for your family dynamics. Hi, I'm Ashley. In this podcast, we will focus on implementing routines, switching to a more natural lifestyle, and uprooting those old mindsets that are keeping you stuck, so that you can plant yourself firmly in the truth that Jesus offers you. Our focus will be on creating small, customizable changes that will build upon one another over time to create real impact in your life. If you want to hear from a mama who has been raising several children with special needs and who knows how important it is to do this in a way that's sustainable and that doesn't add to your overwhelm, then this is the podcast for you. Pop in those earbuds, reheat that coffee for the third time, and let's go. So you may be like us, and in our case, none of us have a true dairy allergy, but several of us were having issues with dairy. Also, like my kids were breaking out in rashes when they would have dairy, things like that. Also, some symptoms for me specifically that would be like lactose intolerant symptoms, different things like that. And so we had started avoiding dairy. And what we had done was, in replacement of that, we had actually started using almond milk. And then I had found out through actually going to our natural doctor that myself and also one of my children was also sensitive to almond milk. So then I had to switch to coconut milk for my kids. And I just actually cut out any kind of milk products in general for a while. But then I was talking with our natural doctor, and she was doing some testing on, I can't remember, it was either myself or one of my kids. And we were just talking about dairy. And she had said, why don't you try A2 milk instead? Because I have a lot of clients who do really well with it when they're just having sensitivities to dairy. And so we went ahead and we tried that. I started with myself and didn't have any issues with it. I was able to drink it without having any kind of stomach pain or anything like that. And then I slowly introduced it to my kids, and the same thing. None of them were breaking out in rashes or complaining of stomach pain or anything like that. And so I was thrilled because I love dairy, and it was just nice to be able to have one less thing for us to have to avoid. And the great thing is that you can get different milk-based products that are made with A2 milk as well, like sour cream, cheeses, and just all kinds of different things. I know a lot of people who will actually buy raw A2 milk, and then they will make their own products out of that milk. That's not something we have done as of yet, but that is also something I know people do, and they have a lot better success with drinking dairy products when they go that route. And again, none of this is any kind of advice. Obviously, if you have a true allergy, this is something you absolutely need to talk with your allergist about. I've had a child who's been anaphylactic to eggs, and we absolutely would not introduce anything without being under the care of an allergist, just because I know how scary these reactions can be. So I'm in no way offering you any kind of medical advice or anything like that. Absolutely talk with your doctor, talk with your natural doctor, whoever it is that you are seeing that's helping you with any kind of sensitivities that you're having or anything like that. I just want to share with you our journey so that maybe that can give you another avenue that you can begin to research and to begin to ask people that you trust about that are helping you on your healthcare journey. And I just want to share a little bit of our story and why it has been so successful for us to be able to switch over to A2 milk instead of having to drink things like almond milk, which is actually very high in PUFAs, which are actually polyunsaturated fatty acids. And those have just been linked to, like when you consume those in large quantities, they've just been linked to various things like asthma, inflammation, diabetes. There are various things. So I tend to try to avoid those whenever possible. And so for me, allowing my kids to drink, this is before we knew, we were of course reacting to the almond milk, but allowing them to drink a couple of glasses of almond milk a day was not really something that I wanted to do. And so it's just been a great alternative for us. And honestly, I prefer the taste anyways. So overall, I've just been happier going this route versus trying to do some kind of milk replacement. But you might not have heard of A2 milk. And so I just want to share a little bit about what it is and why it's different than the traditional milk you would get from the grocery store. And A2 milk is actually, it comes from cows who they just naturally have 2 different copies of the A2 protein in their genes. So traditional cows would have like an A1/A2 copy of this protein in their genes, but A2 cows have an A2 copy of the gene. And that's why you'll see it often called A2 milk, is because it's that gene that it's talking about. And the A2 gene, that protein, is actually easier to digest for humans than the A1 gene would be. And a lot of people just have trouble digesting that A1 gene. So that's whenever you see things like lactose intolerance, dairy sensitivities, also just generally negative symptoms when you are ingesting that A1 milk. And A1 is actually also, I found this very interesting. A1 is actually a genetic mutation that develops whenever it's called BCM7, which is an opioid peptide. So basically it reacts like an opioid in your body. That peptide, the BCM7, it can't be digested by the enzymes that are in your body that would normally break down the food and stuff that you're eating. And so because your body can't break down that, it doesn't have the enzymes to break down that BCM7 peptide, that's when you start to see different issues arise. Like maybe you're having pain and you're having stomach pain, or you're having gas or bloating or whatever the thing may be. That's typically whenever you notice those things start to happen. I also did a little bit of reading, and I found some studies that actually supported the fact that this BCM7, which is that peptide I was talking about, actually will put you at risk for different diseases like gastrointestinal discomfort, which of course makes sense when we talked about the fact that our body just might not have the enzymes to break it down. But then also type 1 diabetes, heart, and neurological diseases. And then also there were other studies that have been showing that people have less gastrointestinal issues and less lactose intolerant symptoms. And actually they even have fewer inflammation markers in the body whenever they are consuming A2 milk instead of A1 milk. And so you might be wondering, where could you go about finding it? And I would say checking at health food stores is a great place to start. Also, if you have a local farmer that you can ask if their cattle is A2 or not. Typically though, if someone has cattle that is A2, they are promoting that because people are very specifically looking for that. There's a specific market for it. So if they have spent the time to make sure that they have cows that have that A2 gene, they're going to be promoting it and letting people know. And so I think just starting there, maybe starting somewhere local, if you could go with a local farm, that would be great. Or like I said, going to the store, like we have a health food store close to us that I know sells A2 milk as well. And that would be a place to start. But definitely just do some more reading on it. See how you feel about it. See if you feel like it's something that you want to learn more about, that you want to ask any medical professional that you have in your life, that you want to consult them about to see if it would be a good option for you. And just decide for yourself if it feels like a good fit. It's worked well for my family. And like I said, I started myself out on it instead of my kids. Because it worked well because we were all having issues, not everyone in my house, but several of us, including me. And so I actually at that time had kids who were having issues with dairy who could not verbalize that they were having issues. And that makes me very nervous because I don't want to give them something that's going to cause them pain and discomfort and then not be able to know what's going on. And so it worked a lot better for me to be able to start with myself. And then once I knew, okay, I'm not having any issues at all, everything is good, I feel fine, then to very slowly, I started very slow. I didn't just give them an entire glass of milk and go from there. I started slow and then just made sure everything was okay. No stomach pain, no rashes, because a lot of times with some of my kids, it would be a rash like a few days later. So I would just give it a little bit of time and then I would see, okay, this looks good. Everything seems fine. and it worked great for us. And it can just be another option for you, especially if you are struggling. For me, I have kids who I struggle a lot of times to get calories and nutrition into them. And so giving them things like almond milk or coconut milk, they don't have a lot of calories and they don't really have fat. And so to be able to go back to a whole milk where we're getting that protein, we're getting the calcium, we're getting just a lot more nutrients. It was great for us because they're just able to get more calories per cup versus if they're drinking something like coconut milk. And so it's just been overall a good fit for us, and definitely something I just wanted to share with you guys in case you were not aware of it, and just giving you the opportunity to kind of dig in a little bit more and see what works best for your family. If you have never heard of A2 milk before and you're going to do some digging on it, I would love to hear from you. Come over to our free Facebook community and share with us what you find and how it's going for you and your family if you decide that you want to try seeing how your family does on it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you back next time. Hey, before you go, if you found value in today's episode or you learned something new, would you take a minute to share with someone else that you know would be blessed by it? I would also love it if you would leave me a review. This lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and I love hearing from you. You can connect with me further over on Facebook or Instagram. Until next time, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, and be constantly in prayer. Romans 12:12.